Revelation 14:4 says, "These are they which were not defiled with women, for they were virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb." Now, this study is going to partake in trying to figure out when this timing could be. Now, through some interesting studying, I've come to find out that this timing very well may not be a part of God's calendar in the days on God's calendar. And so although this date of our redemption might not happen on God's calendar, I think we can still try to pinpoint it on what day on the Gregorian calendar it could happen if it happens this year. So please sit back and just ponder the things that I'm going to share with you, the things that I've learned, as it is very interesting, to say the least. So first, I just wanted to let you know, I found two words within different writings that I just shake my head about. They're words that seem to be redundant when you read them. These words are found within Enoch 72:33, Enoch 74:12, and Jubilees 6:38. And what they say is, "And the year is exactly as to its day, 364. And the sun and the stars bring in the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day until eternity, but complete years with perfect justice in 364 days. And for this reason I command and testify to thee, that thou mayest testify to them, for after thy death thy children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only." So these two words that I want to emphasize regarding the 364 days of the calendar is exactly and only. As there are indeed alternative options for more days that ones could fall into adopting their own calendars and be in errors. But again, you need to be aware of those words of exactly and only for the calendar. And then we see that in the books of Enoch, there are indeed two different days mentioned that ones might think should be added to the calendar, but they're not. They're separate. They're out of time. So first, if we turn to Enoch 72:32 through 34, it says, "On that day the night decreases, and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days, 364. And the length of the day and of the night, and the shortness of the day and of the night arise through the course of the sun." These distinctions are made literally. They are separated. So there's a separation from the 364th day and this next day, the 365th day. So 2:16:3 tells us that the sun goes through the western gates in the order and number of the eastern, and accomplishes the 365 and a quarter days of the solar year. And so now you can see that indeed there is a 1 1/4 day distinction that's mentioned in the book of Enoch. This distinction is between a calendar year of 364 days and a solar year of 365 and a quarter years. Now, I shared a Facebook post back on September 10th, 2019, that said minor changes of 1 day to God's Enoch calendar per Yahuwah, true Sabbath on different day also. And then I explained why. What I didn't realize at that time, although the yearly calendar that God has implemented doesn't change from year to year as far as feasts and Sabbaths, because the Gregorian calendar changes, and because of these lost days, thus, and again, by lost days, I'm talking about the difference between the calendar year and the solar year that I just explained. Thus, the Sabbaths are on different days, and other holidays are on different days, matching with the Gregorian calendar from year to year. And that's what I want to explain a little bit more to you. So one of the things that I had reported in that September 10th post was that Sister Rhonda had posted on Sister Sherry's page on April 4th. So we had quite the revelation from the Most High today on the real Passover date, based on the Enochian calendar and not the Kabbalah calendar. So April 4th was the Passover day. So if we follow this chart, knowing what Sister Rhonda just shared with us, back from the 15th day of the first month, which would have been the 4th day of the calendar week, we then go to the 4th day of the week of creation, being day 1 of the calendar week. And sure enough, in Genesis 1:14, we see that indeed that 4th day, when the stars, the sun, the moon put in the firmament of heaven, it divided the night from the day, and it was for seasons, for days, and for years. Calendar. God's calendar. Now, if we follow from April 4th back to the first day of the calendar, we do then see that the first day of the calendar matching with the Gregorian calendar would have been March 21st for this current year. And that happens to be on the 5th day of the week. So thus, that means, so examining this a little bit closer, we can see that March 21st matched with God's first day on his calendar of this current year. And that was the 4th day of God's week, calendar week. But it was the 5th day of the Gregorian. Thus, when we celebrated our Sabbath days this last year, it would then fall 1 day ahead on the Gregorian Sundays. See how that works? But not to worry, this isn't an ongoing thing, and that's what I've just learned. So we're going to continue in this study and see what happens for this next year. So, to figure this out, when the year ends, we put this in, and we can see March 21st through March 18th, 2020. The result is 364 days, matching with the 364 days that are ordained for God's calendar. Okay, so going forward, or actually, in this case, going backwards a little bit, by one day. Revelation 14:4. Remember, it said, "These were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to God and to the Lamb." First fruits. Okay, so on the fourth day of creation, God created the sun, moon, and stars. And they were for signs for seasons, days, and years. Thus, that's why we said the calendar was created on that fourth day of creation, being then the first day of the calendar. So then, if we play that out for a whole calendar year, remember, it's 364 days on the Enochian calendar year. So the day before the first day, if you went back, not counting the calendar day year, it would be actually the 365th day of a solar year, and then would correspond with the third day of creation. And what did God create on the third day? And we find out that Genesis 1:11 through 13 tells us exactly what was done on that third day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed, and after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day of creation. And of course, that would be the time that the first of the first fruits were created. Now, one of the things that was created on the third day of creation was fruit trees. And we're told in Leviticus 19:23 and 24, "And when ye shall come into the land, and shall have planted all manner of trees for food, then ye shall count the fruit thereof as uncircumcised. 3 years shall it be as uncircumcised unto you, it shall not be eaten of. But in the 4th year all the fruit thereof shall be holy to praise the Lord with." So in the 4th year, it belongs to God, Yahuwah. Psalms 1:1 through 3 tells us about fruit trees that produce fruit. "Blessed is the man who doesn't walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the path of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the Lord's law. On his law he meditates day and night. He will be like a tree planted by the streams of water that produces its fruit in its season, whose leaf doesn't wither. Whatever he does shall prosper." And so what about the solar year and the quarter of the day that was mentioned, 365 and a quarter days? 2 Enoch chapter 16:5 tells us that the quarter of a day is omitted for 3 years. The 4th fulfills it exactly. So does this stick out to you also? Leviticus 19:24, "The 4th year all the fruit thereof shall be holy to praise the Lord with." 2 Enoch 16:5, "The quarter of the year is omitted for 3 years. The 4th fulfills it exactly." Could this day, the 366th day of the solar year, become the timing of when the redeemed elect will be called home? I I think it could be a neat correlation. If so, day 366 of the solar year would fall on March 20th, 2020. Interesting to also note that 2 Enoch 16:6 says, "Therefore they are taken outside of heaven for 3 years and are not added to the number of days." The elect do leave for a while. Could this be a double meaning when it says that? So if I have this all right, when Exodus 12:2 says this month is to be the first month of the year, of your year, it would be the day of March 21st, 2020 on the Gregorian calendar. That would be the new calendar first day of the year. And thus, the first Sabbath day for God's calendar year would be on the 24th day of March on the Gregorian calendar, which would be on a Tuesday. Thus, every Tuesday for that year would then be a Sabbath day. But now back to the true new year on God's calendar, which would correspond with the Gregorian date of March 21st, 2020 year. Let's go back and see what that date brings in history, because that day could have some neat significance in regards to us arriving at our next home, because I believe that if this study is correct, it would be March 20th, sometime maybe during the night, that we'd be redeemed, and then March 21st, then arriving at our next destination. Of course, many of us remember Sister Sherry telling us that Father said, "Tell them I'm coming soon for my faithful warriors, those who've been on the front lines producing fruit for me, fighting against my enemies, doing exploits for me. The Ark of the Covenant is in heaven with me when I return at my second coming. But it's not here right now. It is hidden on earth in Ohio, at your feet. Tell them, child. Tell them it is there and that you will bring it home to me." And Sherry said, and when they, by the way, that what she said she meant the frontline warriors, leave, they're going to take the Ark of the Covenant with them. And so it's so neat to see that Exodus 42:3 says, "On the first day of the first month shall you set up the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation, and you shall put therein the ark of the testimony and cover the ark with a veil." We could literally be on that day, the first day of the first month, be placing the Ark of the Covenant in heaven. And here we see in Psalm 19:4-6, their line is going out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he has set a tabernacle for the sun, which like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber rejoices like a strong man to run its race. Its rising is from the end of heaven, and its circuit to the other end. And there is nothing hidden from its heat. This is the first day of the calendar year, and also the first day of the course of the solar year. So we read in Matthew 24:37, "Like in the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of Son of Man be." Well, Jubilees 6:25 says that on the new moon of the first month, he was bidden to make for himself an ark. And on that day the earth became dry, and he opened up the ark and saw the earth. Genesis 8:13 tells us the same story with the part about the covering of the ark and the earth being dry of Jubilees 6:25, when it says, "And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first day of the month, waters dried up off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry." So this first day of the month is the same wording as when we read the new moon. So no matter what, from what I can understand, the first day of a new year on God's calendar is considered also a new moon. No matter what phase of the moon it is in. So just to emphasize this fact of the new moon, actually that terminology meaning first day of the new year, in these cases, 1 Samuel 26 says, "If your father happens to miss me, you should say, David urgently requested me to let him go to the city of Bethlehem, for there is an annual sacrifice there for his entire family." Annual, yearly. Then 1 Samuel 20:24 and 27 says, "So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon, again, first day of the new year, was come, the king sat down to eat meat. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty." First day was the first day of the new year. Look at what else has happened in history on the first day of the first month of the year. Jubilees chapter 27:19 through 21 says, "He, Jacob, came to life on the mountains, that is, Bethel, on the new moon of the first month of this week, 21:15 a.m. And he came to the place at even, and turned from the way to the west of the road that night. And he slept there, for the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place and laid it at his head under the tree. And he was journeying alone, and he slept. And he dreamt that night, and behold, the ladder set up on the earth. Top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of the Lord ascended and descended on it. And behold, the Lord stood upon it." Yes, indeed. This could be, again, the timing of us going home when they come down. And so I ask you in closing, are you ready? Are you excited to follow the Lamb wherever he goes? And so I feel that we're right on the cusp of a new year coming about. And when Isaiah 26:2 and 20 says, "Open the gates that the righteous nation which keepeth the truth may enter in. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut the doors about thee. Hide thyself as if it were for a little moment until the indignation was overpast." It's been a pleasure doing this study.